Welcome to the Pindown, your Detroit Pistons podcast. I'm your host, Wes Davenport from Motor City Hoops and Detroit Bad Boys.
And I'm Blake Silverman, writer for Detroit Bad Boys, covering everything Pistons, and news writer for Sports Illustrated.
And we now have I think we're 2 for 2 of recording after some pretty fun wins. So this is like the opposite of what we've been the past couple of years. I hope we can keep that going. I mean, it's about time. We're over 100 episodes in now. It's about time we're good luck for the Pistons, right? Is that fair to say?
Definitely. And I mean, to be fair, like the team is getting better as we're getting better, hopefully. But yeah, it's 2 exciting wins that we're recording after too, especially like the Magic game, which is the most recent game since or when we're recording. The Pistons get out to another slow start. They come back and pretty much beat the brakes off the Magic and got a little close in the third quarter there for a bit, but it just had everything, like the exciting plays, the defensive intensity, an incredible game from Cade Cunningham. So that's a fun win that I'm excited to talk about today.
Let's just start there then, because like you said, incredible game from Cade Cunningham. He started off slow too, and then all of a sudden the switch just flipped. So he ends with 30 points, 6 rebounds, 10 assists, 3 steals, and 3 blocks. No turnovers.
First player to put up that stat line since like LeBron James or something in the East.
And I think if you add the no turnovers, there is nobody. Now, of course, turnovers we're only started to record, I think, in the early 70s. So, I'm sure if we could like retcon some of this, we could find like a Wilt game or something before then, or a Bill Rudd. Like, I'm sure it's possible. However, at least has been statistically tracked, Cade stands alone, putting up that stat line with 0 turnovers.
Yeah, and I mean, I'm always a little like, I think the stat line, like no one has put up the stat line since this is a little bit of a pick and choosy stat, because you just take whatever the game is and put on your filters and find it. But I mean, I think it is interesting, and it's definitely warranted to look at when it is something that no one has done in the Eastern Conference since LeBron James, who hasn't been in the Eastern Conference for a long time. And I think when he did it last was in his first stint with the Cavs. So it's just pretty cool all around. And I mean, incredible game for Cade, and the incredible game for a number of Pistons too. So it was just a really fun win. It was nice to see a home win before going to Mexico City, which I didn't realize that game was coming up so early in the schedule.
And technically a home game, which kind of stinks.
Stinks for the season ticket holders, but hopefully I'm sure the team reimbursed them or gave them some extra tickets or something. But yeah, I'm kind of surprised with the Magic too in their start so far. But yeah, I think wildly the Pistons are a little bit more experienced, and obviously the Magic have been in the playoffs, but I think their roster underwent a little bit more change, and the Pistons had their transactions too and are missing key guys. But the Magic input Desmond Bane as like a key piece of their lineup, and it just takes some time. So I'm just happy to see how the Pistons competed with them, and that was really a game that they should have won, and they did. So it's exciting.
Yeah, for sure. And I mean, like, for all the concern that had been through about 4 games, right, where you're looking at Cade's got, I think at that point, averaging like 5 turnovers a night. This brought him down to 4.4 because he had a 0 turnover game. But, there was so much concern with the spacing, with the ball handling. What are the Pistons going to do? They need to figure out the offense. And after another slow start, which admittedly is something that is becoming a trend, and let's give it another 5 games to see if they can figure that out, or if we need to officially establish that as something they really need to fix long-term anyway. But they come out, they score 135 points there against the Magic. They finally shot the ball pretty well. As a team. I'm trying to look and see if I could find it. Yeah, 49.5% from the floor, and they shot 40% from 3. So that's what you wanted to see. Coming together. That's a player as smart as Cade Cunningham is, figuring out how teams have been blitzing him. We talked about that a lot last week. He's seeing playoff defenses, but you just get the sense, right, that a guy as high IQ basketball wise as Cade is going to be able to figure that out. And sure enough, he does. 50% from the floor. Still got to work on that 3-point thing. I do think he was passing on a couple of looks that he could have taken. Then again, he was 1 for 7. So I guess I can't necessarily fault him for passing on open looks, but at the same time, if Cade has an open dribble pull up from 3 after a screen, I'd kind of like him to, all else being equal, just put up that shot. But it's just a great offensive night for the Pistons. I felt like they needed that.
Oh, 100%. And I think we had a question about it last week about just the slow starts in general, and even you see Cade get out to a slow start this in the most recent game against the Magic. And like, definitely we need to figure out a way to get around that. But at the same time, I think to a degree, it's also not entirely Cade's fault, because I think what he's seen from opposing defenses is they just put a top defender or just someone that's only in the game to guard Cade Cunningham, really, and they're just not giving him anything. Like, they're picking him up close to full court and just annoying him, honestly. And I think he's dealt with it pretty well. Like, he's making the right basketball play, which oftentimes lead to assists. And I mean, if he has a good look, he'll take it. But he's getting contested looks, at least to start, and then he's figuring out his way around the defense. So I think overall he's going to learn how to deal with it, because I just think night in and night out, you're going to see like what Boston did with Hugo Gonzalez, who was just there to annoy Cade pretty much. Like, I don't think he scored in that game. So overall, I think that's the main thing, and I don't necessarily fault Cade for it, because I think he's doing a good job in making the right play in those situations. It just hinders his scoring a little bit, at least at the start.
I do wish for as cerebral a basketball player as Cade is, I don't feel as though he really punishes double and triple teams as well as he could. Like, if you look at a guy like this is an extreme example, but you don't double Luka. You don't blitz him off a screen because he picks you apart, right? You got to over-rotate the defense. He knows exactly where that trap is coming from. He just gets the ball into the open space, and it's an easy couple of points for the offense. Cade should be able to do that, and he does it every now and then. I just wish it was more consistent. It seems like, not in the Magic game, but almost once a game, you get one of those turnovers from him where he gets blitzed on the screen. He didn't see it coming. He kind of takes an escape dribble, jumps backwards, falling backwards, 2 hands over his head, and just kind of throws a lollipop pass. Like, that's obviously going to be a turnover, right? You just wish he could cut that out a little bit more, but he did against the Magic. He didn't have any of those issues. So that was great. That's a 1 foot in the right direction. Yeah, I was just really over the moon with that game. Honestly, you could not have asked for more momentum going into the game there in Mexico City. Like, you could just, Tobias Harris again having another really great night. 23 points, 2 rebounds, 3 assists, 2 steals. He goes 61% from the floor. Like, he was toe to toe with Paolo Banchero and stood up to the test. Duncan Robinson 4-6 from 3. I thought he was getting good looks too. Cade was able to find him in spots that seemed a little bit more comfortable for him, which you'll expect to see, right, as the season goes along. These guys getting more chemistry. Duran getting to the line 12 times. 12 in only 33 minutes. Like, that's a really good ratio there for him. And Asar, he wasn't great from the floor, but I thought he was pretty decisive with what he was doing with the ball. Only 1 turnover, 6 assists. And I'm loving how he's crashing the boards early on in this season. Absolutely loving it. Like, he is taking the rebounds Tobias Harris used to get. Mm-hmm. And I could not be more excited about that. Let's see. Is one more, and then I want to let you respond. Ron Holland, another pretty standout game, even though I believe he had 4 personal fouls. Stu obviously fouls out, but Ron Holland, 50% from the floor, 40% from 3, 10 points, 2 rebounds, 1 assist, 3 steals.
Yeah, Ron Holland has been awesome. Like and I know we're going to talk about him a little bit more today, but I'm really excited what I've seen from him so far. And we knew the kind of player he was, but just with the intensity he brings, and also he seems to only be getting better offensively and limiting the turnovers and decision making, which was a big thing for him as he was coming into the draft. But yeah, just incredible all around performance. Like Asar was on triple double watch for most of the game, and then I mean, unfortunately, didn't get the assist, but 12 points, 11 rebounds, 6 assists is an incredible game for him. And even though he didn't have the best night from the floor, I thought he was still impactful. And Tobias Harris was just huge. I feel like you can't say that enough. Like he helped weather the storm as the Magic tried to make little comebacks there, especially in the third quarter with some big buckets. And I think they cut it down to like 8 and just never really let them truly get back in the game, which was huge. So he was good. And even Duncan Robinson, like 4 for 6 from 3, like he made some big shots and was talking a bit to the Magic bench, which was fun. So yeah, just good all around.
He's got that inner Florida rivalry still in his blood. He can't let it go.
Yeah, exactly. And I do not fault him for it, but every starter in double figures, and then you get Ron Holland with 10 points off the bench, Javonte Green and Stu with 9 points apiece. Like really everyone contributed to that. I mean, Karis LeVert had a slow game as he came back, but that'll take some time too. So I just thought it was all around a great performance, and really how we're looking for this team to play the rest of the year.
Real quick, it was making me laugh a little bit. You're saying that, yeah, we knew who Ron Holland was. You know, we know him as a player. I'm like thinking, speak for yourself. I had no clue what this guy was going to be this year, right? He's such a mystery box. I'm pretty sure the guy he can be, but I absolutely did not expect him to look this good through 5 games. He has been unbelievable. I mean, if we I'll go, let's just pull up his stats real quick. Ron Holland this year is at, per game, we've got 11.6 points. He's averaging 3.2 rebounds, 1.8 assists, and 2 steals per game. And that's only in about 21, 22 minutes. That's unreal production for a 20-year-old off the bench. And I think that this is having a positive effect on Tobias Harris too, just to be totally honest with you. Like he's got the young buck nipping at his heels, and he's got to, maintain his starting spot, right? And then these past few games from him, I think outside of game 1, Tobias has looked excellent. Excellent. I've loved what we've seen out of him. So yeah, this is just all really good stuff from Detroit. Last guy worth shouting out, Isaiah Stewart. Yeah, he fouled out. Yeah, he only played 18 minutes. But you want to know what he did in those 18 minutes, guys? 9 points, 4 rebounds, and 2 blocks. He only missed 1 shot the entire game. I would play that guy 48 minutes a night if I could. And based on the Orlando game, Isaiah Stewart wouldn't be able to play 48 minutes a night because he'll foul himself out. But like, if I have my way, I just don't think I could find a way to have him on the bench unless he'd have to beg. He'd have to say, Coach, I'm way too tired. I need a break. And even then I'd be thinking like, dude, can we really put him on the bench? I need him out there right now. So Stewart this is the best basketball he's played in his career.
Yeah. Like, and you have to love what he's done as like getting back to adding the 3-point shot to his game. And he only took 1 in the Magic game, but it was a make, and it was funny because he just was given a ton of space and he was trying to pass the ball, but he took the shot and just drained it.
Can we say though, that pass fake was incredible. I mean, the defender bit hard. Like he tried to jump that. He thought he had a steal. He was about at half court by the time he got himself under control and got back into the play. So Stu, I think it was so good because he truly did want to pass that ball, but it's a heck of a highlight now.
Oh yeah, 100%. And I'm trying to. So this is something I was thinking about. Sports Time in the chat mentioned Stu might be our best 3-point shooter, and I mean I could agree. Obviously, lower volume than guys like Duncan Robinson and Cade and even Tobias and Ron Holland too, but. He's so far through 5 games, 58% from three on just under 2.5 attempts a game. And like, if you're getting that from your big man off the bench, that's huge. Would even like to see him find a bit more, like get his attempts closer to three. I don't, I think he'll probably stick somewhere in that 2 to 3 range throughout the year. But if he can have 1 or 2 makes a game, like that's huge. And that's not something that we saw last year. It's something we saw from Stu earlier on in his career, and we knew that he had that ability. So it's just nice to see him get back to that overall, because he's been great from deep, especially.
And last thing on Stu, because again, just to get the point across, this is the best we have ever seen him play. He's averaging. This is per 100 possessions, guys. He's averaging 5.3 stocks per 100 possessions, 4.4 of those being blocks. Just for some perspective there, Asar Thompson is only right now at 2.7 stocks per 100 possessions. And he's doing that while only having 2.2 turnovers per 100 possessions. His stock to turnover ratio is positive, Blake. That's unbelievable.
Yeah.
He's been so impactful. I cannot say enough about Isaiah Stewart right now.
Right. And yeah, I really, so he's played 107 minutes through his first 5 games. So he's just above 20 minutes per game. And of course, like we were talking about that before the season, he was just under 20 minutes last year. We're hoping to see that go up a bit. And I think it definitely can. And it's been huge, whether it's Jalen Duren in foul trouble, or we saw Stu in foul trouble against the Magic. And of course, there's that game where Paul Reed comes in and plays a big role. So you have a very overqualified third big too. So I think the Pistons have been getting great minutes in the front court from those guys. And yes, Stu, we knew he can be that all defense type guy, and I hope he gets that recognition this year, because I think he definitely deserves it. I mean, a long way to go, but I do not see any reason that Stu won't continue doing what he's doing defensively.
And to Sports Time 2's question, isn't Stu second in blocks across the league? In terms of per game, he is tied with Evan Mobley for 5th. Of course, he's doing that in 21.4 minutes per game, where everybody... Oh, he's also tied with Alex Sarr as well at 5th with 2.
Who's number 1? I'm not sure.
Oh, Adam Bona? Oh, no, he's number 2. Oh, Victor Wembanyama, who's got more than double the second best shot blocker.
And he did that just to note like how
it went down.
Yeah.
His blocks per game, yeah.
Just to note like how difficult it will be for anyone to catch Victor Wembanyama. Like, he led the NBA in blocks last year by a landslide, and his season ended in February. So if Stu can like be toward the top there, I mean, it really puts him in a different category. Like, unfortunately, I feel like it's going to be Wembanyama and then everyone else for there. So if Stu can stay in that, like everyone else at the size he is and the role he has, like it's just incredible.
Yeah, for sure. He's not real. Wembanyama is not real. But all right, let's I don't know. What do you think? Do you have any final thoughts here on that Magic game, or maybe what we can do looking forward to the game in Mexico City?
I mean, I think I'd just say I'm interested to see how Karis LeVert's role evolves or maybe changes. Like, I wasn't expecting much from him out of in that game against the Magic as he returns, but I wonder if we'll if we'll see him get more minutes, and hopefully we'll see him be a bit more efficient from the field and from three. But also the only other guy I'd shout out is like I think Javonte Green has been pretty big. Like he's provided some really good minutes and knocked down some good shots too, like 3 for 4 from three in that game against the Magic. And he was a guy that I didn't necessarily think would be in the rotation right away coming into the year, but he's made the most out of his minutes. And I think he's a great bench wing to have. And he's just been super impactful already. So I think that's a nice under the radar signing from Trajan Langdon there.
Oh yeah, I don't think any of us really expected Green to be in the rotation that much to start the year, and maybe he only is because of Ivy's injury, and maybe he was only getting so many minutes because LeVert was out as well. But no, he's been solid.
Yeah,
good, strong wing player who's got positional flexibility.
Yeah, I think you almost have to play him. Like it'll be interesting to see how things change when Ivy comes back, and if LeVert gets a few more minutes, and Ron Hollins obviously only getting better. But Javonte Green, I kind of see him as the Tobias Harris of the bench unit, essentially. Like he can just make shots when you need him to, if it's Cade that's out on the floor with him getting targeted, or Ivy when he comes back. And it's just huge to have those guys, especially when 3-point shooting has been such a hot topic with this team out of the gate and up and down, honestly.
Yeah, definitely up and down. I did want to, since you brought that up, I did want to pull some interesting stats that I don't know about that 3-point shooting issue. So last year, the Pistons were at 115.5 points per game. They shot 35.4 3-point attempts per game, and they were 36.2% on those looks. They had 5 players, including Jaden Ivey, who were shooting better than 35%. This year, they're at 115 points per game. Obviously, that's boosted a little bit here by this outburst against the Magic, but that's fine because you know what? We're dealing with small sample sizes, so we have to remain honest to it. 32.6 3-point attempts per game, 34.4%. They also have 5 players above 35%. So, I guess I bring this up to say it's been streaky, and I do think that the spacing in the starting lineup especially is worth monitoring, but it's too early to really say if it's like the reason they've been getting out to slow starts or anything like that. They're not that far off from what they were last year. I think part of the issue is just Duncan's a little bit different a shooter than what Tim Hardaway Jr. was. Tim Hardaway Jr. was a little bit better off the move. Duncan Robinson's more of a stationary catch and shoot guy, and that's fine. It'll take a moment to adjust. So I think it's worth waiting that one out. And the same thing's going to apply to Jaden Ivey too, by the way. Like when you swap Duncan Robinson out for Ivy in that starting lineup, it's not like Jaden Ivey's a guy that's whipping around screens and shooting a ton of catch and shoot threes and through that curl action. Like he's a stationary catch and shoot guy as well. So it just might take a couple minutes here for the guys to figure it out. But if we're worried about the spacing, it's not like, they were 36% last year and they're 28 now. They're close. And they've got the same number of guys that are shooting at near or above that league average mark there with 35. So, don't be too worried yet, but keep watching it. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah, and just so are 2 of those guys above 35? We're counting Paul Reed and Jenkins.
Have to. They've played 4 out of 5 games.
Yeah.
Otherwise, I would have dropped them out, but they've contributed to the spacing as much as anybody at this point.
Yeah. So just bringing that up to say, like, they're both, because of the minutes they got, they're under like 1 attempt per game. So if you go like under that group, the guys that stick out that really you need to take a stretch. I mean, it's tough to say that just after 5 games, because I'm almost certain it'll turn around and these numbers won't be what you're seeing for the rest of the season. But there's Ron Holland, who's at 33%, and that he's already looked better as a 3-point shooter in year 2 as he did in year 1. I think
And
he has
confident too.
Yeah, he has more room to grow. He was 2 for 5 against the Magic. And then you have Tobias Harris and Cade Cunningham in that starting group. And that's where like over 11 3-point attempts per game are coming from those two individually. So, and Cade specifically, like I think if there is one area of his game over these first 5 games that we can nitpick, it is the 3-point efficiency. And I don't think he's going to be 24% from 3 for the rest of the season. So it's nothing to be worried about. And you just saw Tobias Harris have an incredible game. So all that to say, I think the group that we're looking for a little bit more from 3-point shooting wise, we're going to see that. So I'm not concerned. And then you have Karis LeVert down there too, who miss him. He's only been in 2 games this year, and obviously adjusting to a new situation for him and how he's going to fit into the offense. So I think there's just room to grow. I'm not ready to panic about the 3-point shooting and the spacing yet, but overall, I think it definitely is something to monitor because there has been a trend in the losses and wins. Like you can pretty much look at the 3-point shooting and probably make a determination if the Pistons won or lost that game from there.
Yeah, and just to add on before we maybe move on to some questions here, but like the one area that I am specifically watching for the shooting is it seems to me that Cade has been asked to be a floor spacer more this year than he was last year. I think that has to do quite a bit with just the style of shooter that Duncan Robinson is as compared to a Tim Hardaway Jr. because functionally that's really who he's replacing right in the starting lineup, at least right now. If you move him to the bench now, okay, now we're talking about the Malik Beasley thing, right? But in the starting lineup, Duncan Robinson is playing the role of Tim Hardaway Jr. And Duncan Robinson is a better shooter than THJ was, but I think that there is an argument to make that Hardaway Jr. had a little bit more gravity as a 3-point shooter. He pulled defenders closer to him because he was good off the move, because you had to not only be aware of where he was, but it wasn't a guarantee where he was, right? They were actively scheming up ways to get him running and moving around to kind of keep the defense on their toes. You could just be as simple as that their go-to baseline out of bounds play last year was to have Tim Hardaway Jr. start kind of at the free throw line, rip off a curl to the corner and get an open look from 3, right? Like they did that, I don't know how many times. They opened up games in that way too, and they're not really able to do that anymore. So Sean Haddix brings up Cade has been shooting pretty poorly from 3 since the All-Star break last year. That is accurate. That's true. So the reason that it's something to monitor is we kind of talked about this 2 years ago. Cade is the guy that you want to benefit from the spacing. If he's the guy you're asking to space, well, then it's good for maybe Asar Thompson. Maybe it's good for Jalen Duren and Tobias Harris and now Duncan Robinson instead of Tim Hardaway Jr. But Cade's the guy that needs to have his defender close to him in that setup. Whereas ideally, you'd like that the other defenders are feeling like they need to keep close to their man and Cade can have a little bit of more room to operate. He just had a big game against the Magic. I don't think that the spacing is 100% of the reason his field goal percentage has been low or why he's had so many turnovers this year. That said, I don't think it helped. So it's something that I'm watching. And like you said, don't press the panic button. He can figure this out. He's a great player, right? So I'm not too worried about it, at least right now. But if we get to like 15 games and it kind of has continued, I think you could start having the conversation.
Yeah, and just to go back to the stats you brought up of that group that we have that's shooting over 35% from 3, only one of those guys is is a starter, and that's Duncan Robinson. So maybe the answer is just as simple as Tobias Harris shooting a little bit better from three over the next 5-10 games, and it makes things easier for Cade as well, because none of us are expecting Asar Thompson or Jalen Duren to start contributing from the 3-point line in that starting group. And obviously we'll see what it looks like when Jaden Ivey comes back as well. But yeah, I think, and that contributes to like the slower starts a little bit too. But luckily you have had those guys off the bench like Stu, who's been really good from three, Javonte Green, Ron Holland has looked better as well. And then you have Karis LeVert coming back too, who we know he can certainly be a better 3-point shooter than what we've seen over his first 2 games of the season overall. So yeah, I think it'll take some time, but hopefully we just see some more efficiency from Tobias Harris, which we saw in the game against the Magic. And maybe that just makes things easier for the rest of the bunch.
Yeah. And like, that's I don't have the numbers to back this up, but by my eye test, the offense looks like it flows a little bit smoother and a little bit easier when Isaiah Stewart's out there with the starting group right now. And that's not me saying that you need to swap Stu into the starting lineup. I think the Pistons are in an awesome spot right now where legitimately it doesn't matter who you have out there. You've got 48 minutes of great center play for your team. So that's awesome. So I don't even want to have that conversation. I'm just, the element that Stu brings that's a little bit different is his ability to catch and shoot from three. And now you've got him and Robinson and Tobias Harris or Ron Holland, if he came in with Holland as well, that you have to kind of account for out on the perimeter instead of just Robinson and Cade and Harris, right? So I think that's been helpful for Asar. And then when you've had times where Cade's got a little bit more shooting around him, it's been more helpful for him. So like we said, it's just something to monitor. It's not like anything to really note yet. But speaking of Asar, we got a question here from Sports Time 2 in our live chat. And you guys, if you're tuning in live with us, first, thank you as always. We appreciate you here on a Friday morning. But send in any questions that you've got. So he says, did you guys read the Players Tribune that Asar Thompson wrote? I thought it was amazing. What a great kid. So did you read that one from him?
Not yet. It's on my reading list. And honestly, I should have, because Players Tribune and Sports Illustrated are under like the same holding company. So it's definitely on my list. I did see some of the like clips that were pulled from the article, and specifically what he was talking about with the playoff series. And I mean, I think one thing about Asar and his brother, for that matter, that stood out when they were just prospects at the fairly unknown or not sure how to evaluate overtime elite, is just the competitors that they were. And I think that that's the main thing that stuck out from the piece that Asar wrote on Players Tribune. I haven't read it in full yet, so I can't say that for sure, but that's what I saw a lot of people talking about. And I love those articles. I think it's such a cool idea, and I'm happy that the Players Tribune has been around for as long as it has. And I'd like to see Cade do one day. Maybe he has.
Oh, I'd like to see that.
That I'm not remembering. I think Malik Beasley actually did one during the playoffs last year.
He did. Yeah, I think he did.
Yeah, so I always enjoy reading those. I think they're such a cool way into just like the human side of sports, which is obviously like why we all love it too, in addition to everything that's actually happening on the floor. So I'm excited to dive into that one, because Asar just seems like a great kid, like you said, sports time, and has all the right ideas and competitive nature that really makes him fit in well here. And yeah, I'm excited to dive into that one.
And I can't remember if he actually mentioned Ron Holland in the piece or not, but I'm loving how much both those guys are running with that whole 9 to 5.
I think he did, because I think it was titled 9 to 5.
It was titled 9 to 5.
Yeah.
And I read it. I just can't remember if Ron Holland gets a mention by name. I missed it myself.
Okay.
It's possible he did, but because I kind of skimmed through it. But I love how much those two guys are kind of embracing that they might be the future here in the wing room, and they're playing like it right now. So that's been awesome. I will say though, the Player Tribune, maybe they should invest in ghostwriters. I loved what Asar was saying. It was a hard read. It was hard to get through, just like literally difficult. It read like a long email by someone who doesn't really, doesn't write a lot of emails. And like, it's fine. These are basketball players. They're not authors. So I don't care. Right. But like, maybe Players Tribune could have someone to clean it up just a little bit on the back end, take no credit, because that's not the point here, and just let the players run with it, because it is an awesome service and an insight into the minds of these guys. But sometimes, man, it's like that was kind of hard to read grammatically.
Yeah, I mean, I'm actually not sure how it works. Like, I'm sure they have staff writers who help, or maybe it is just more of like give the players a blank canvas and see what comes out of it. But I mean,
I hope it's the second. If it was the first, I'm a little afraid of what the original was then.
I mean, yeah, I don't know for sure. I'm just like guessing, I guess. But yeah, I have to dig into it a little bit more. I was excited to see he got, and I think it was like great timing to release that too, after going into his third year and the whole like dynamic between him and Ron Holland. I thought it was a great time for it to be released.
And just to be clear, I'm not trying to like kill Asar for the style in which he wrote the Players Tribune piece. These are the best basketball players in the world, and writing an article or any article or op-ed is actually a difficult skill to pick up. So like, yeah, it kind of read like a free flowing journal entry, or like a long email, right? And sometimes those can just be difficult to get through as compared to others. That's all I'm saying. I don't want to. I thought it was awesome, but that's not my point. So I apologize for that. But it was just a little distracting. Let's go to this one. This is a good question here from Epic Wayne. It says, a couple weeks into the season, how is the Pindown feeling about our NBA Cup group? It seems very gettable to me. So I believe we got the Nets, Sixers, Magic, and Celtics.
Yeah, so I was looking at this yesterday, and I mean, I think any group is going to be tough, like, but I think it worked out as good for the Pistons as it possibly could have, because you don't have the Knicks, you don't have the Cavs, you don't have the Bucks in your group. The Sixers, and specifically Tyrese Maxey and VJ Edgecombe, have looked awesome to start the year. So they're probably better than people thought they were. The Magic are still working things out. So I think it also helps the Pistons that the NBA Cup group games happen toward the beginning of the season. And maybe you'll be able to catch them again when they're still figuring things out. I mean, like, looking at it, I think the Pistons, like, if I was looking at it from the outside and trying to remove my connection to the Pistons like entirely, I'd like the Pistons to come out of that group. I think I'd like either the Pistons or the Sixers, honestly, right now. But yeah, I think in general, in terms of the draw, it was as good as possible, mainly because those, I don't even want to say top dogs in the East, because I feel like the conference as a whole is pretty wide open this year. But not having the Knicks, Cavs, or Bucks in your group is pretty big, honestly. And I think they should be able to at least get back to playing for the group like they did last year. And hopefully this time we can see them make it out of the group and make it to Vegas.
I still think the Magic are the biggest threat in that. I know the Pistons just thumped them the other night there, but they've got so much talent. They're going to be just fine. That starting lineup's great. They got good depth. They got great wings with Paolo and Franz, and even some of the guys off the bench that they can bring in. Desmond Bane's going to find his footing. Like, I think that the Magic are still probably the most dangerous team in that group. But that being said, I would have the Pistons right there behind them, especially as they continue to get a little bit more healthy, right? Karis LeVert's going to get his feet back underneath him here. And I think that you noticed his impact there against the Magic, just with the ability for JB to put in another ball handler into that starting lineup. He was the first guy in off the bench. And when he came in, offense looked a little bit better, even though he himself wasn't particularly playing all that well. And so I think that goes to the other element of that slow start, which is Cade's the only ball handler, right? So we've talked about that before too, and that's something that Jaden Ivey's going to fix. But in the meantime, you've got Karis LeVert to come in off the bench and provide you a lot of that same thing. So I think he's going to be big for this team. And I like their odds. I'm with you. I like their odds in this group. I think they are a better team than the Sixers right now, just with their I trust the consistency in Detroit a little bit more in Philly, because we only got, I think, 4 games for them. Have they played 5 yet?
I'm not sure. Yeah.
Oh, either way, they're solid. How about the front office out there in Philly, though? Like, we don't know what they're doing in free agency and trade, but they can draft. I mean, Maxey, McCain, and then now picking Edgecombe early too. Like, they're nailing it in the draft. So you got to be feeling pretty confident about their future if you're a Philly fan. But right now, I think I'm still taking Detroit. So I do like our odds here in the Cup group. It's very winnable. I'm most worried about the Magic still.
Yeah.
And of course, the Celtics can throw you a curveball, so don't count them out.
Yeah. I mean, what's funny about the Sixers draft wise, I feel like to a degree they've just made the right pick, and I feel like they haven't overthought it. And I think this year was especially tough because of the Ace Bailey stuff that happened, and he didn't work out for them. And so VJ Edgecombe was the clear guy for them to take, and they just made the pick instead of trading out. I think to a degree, they hit a home run with Maxey, but he might have fell to them a bit too. And similar thing with Jared McCain, who's been hurt and I think is coming back soon. But yeah, they've done a good job overall. And I think with the NBA Cup specifically, what makes me optimistic about the Pistons' chances is I think they clearly have the best player in their group. And I would say that about any group that the Pistons were in, outside of maybe if the Bucks were in their group, because Giannis is.
Give Embiid the argument, I guess.
Yeah,
is he playing yet? He's playing, right?
He's playing. Yeah. I think still on like a minutes restriction and everything, right. But yeah, and
I'd take Cade, but just to give guys the props.
Yeah. But yeah, Giannis has been on another level to start the year, which is crazy for him. So I think Cade is one of the best players in the East. So when you have that guy, I like your chances against anyone, and especially when you see the teams that are outside of the Pistons group. I think the draw worked out well for them. It still won't be easy to come out, obviously, but yeah, I like their chances too.
And specifically with Cade, I think what you saw against the Magic was in quarters 2 through 4, his ability to pick and choose his spots really clicked. Right. Mm-hmm. We've been talking about how he's getting blitzed in screens. We've been talking about maybe he needs to, this got brought up on the Pistons Pulse, maybe he needs to reject more screens. Maybe you need to get creative with them, all that stuff. What happened against the Magic was it clicked in through the second quarter through fourth quarter. He pretty much only attacked when he had a one-on-one look, and he was decisive. He went quick. When they were sending help his way, he was just making the right play. Actually, props to Paolo, who was doing pretty much the same thing for the Magic as well on their end too. So Paolo, I thought, had a really nice night offensively. I think he was on triple-double watch most of that game too. But I think that's what clicked with Cade. So if you're in this NBA Cup group against the Pistons, I think you ought to be a little bit worried about, can we even blitz Cade right now? Because that's always the thing, right? Like we talk about, you can talk about this a lot of really smart people do. So this isn't my idea originally, but a lot of really smart people bring up the idea with rookie guards, with young guards. Teams blitz them until they prove that they can beat it, right? And that's kind of where Cade is right now. He's getting blitzed again because you know what? The Knicks in the playoffs, they showed the league that if you force the ball out of Cade's hands, you can beat the Pistons. And yes, they did it narrowly because the Pistons played pretty well in that series, but like that was their defensive strategy and it worked. So through these first 5 games, what have all these teams done? Well, it's a copycat league. All these teams are sending a bunch of guys Cade's way, try to get the ball out of his hands, pick up full court, make him uncomfortable, make him pass the ball. And if Cade just proved here against the Magic that he can beat that consistently, and then he starts doing it to a couple other teams too, we're not going to see that defense anymore. Right. So that's going to be fun. I think I genuinely believe Cade figured something out here against the Magic. And so, yeah, he's probably the best player in this cup group.
Yeah, and the Magic were one of the top defenses in the NBA last year.
Yeah, figuring something out against the Magic's pretty dang hard, I have to say.
Right. Yeah. So that's like that's like a great reason to think all the defensive schemes that have been thrown at him, like he'll find a way to work around it. It might take some time. We saw it happen against the Magic, which is an incredibly tough team to do it against. So just keep it rolling.
And YouTube user brings up a good point. I was thinking about this too. He said that someone pointed out that Cade has been good in the fourth and wins this season. And that was a problem in the past with him being exhausted in the fourth. Yeah, I agree. Cade's always been a pretty good clutch player, at least by the numbers. In the past, since even in his rookie year, actually, he was pretty solid. But I do believe the conditioning has been improved early on this season. I think physically he looks stronger as well. Like he looks like he might have put on a couple pounds of muscle over the offseason, and teams are trying to wear him down and it's not working. I think that's why we've seen him been so impactful defensively. Like he looks pretty locked in on that end, and it's not taking away in any way that I can see from his offense. It's not like he's working his butt off defensively and now he's a little bit tired because of all the burden he bears there on the offensive side of the ball. Like he's just been doing them both at a really high level. And I think you got to credit that offseason conditioning, and hopefully that just continues, right? This is just now who he is, because what an asset that is, right? To have your best player have the capability of putting up 6 stocks in a night where he also drops 30 with 10 assists, right? What a luxury that is.
Yeah, that's a great point too. I mean, I feel like with Cade and the year that he had last year, it's so easy to overlook. Like he is still 24 years old and he had a full other healthy off season under him to get better. And yeah, he definitely looks stronger, and he's making things happen like around the hoop too. So yeah, I think that's been good, and definitely something that will keep standing out over this new season.
All right, we got a question that makes me excited. This is from Stew It Up, and he just wants us to brag about Ron Holland. And I wanted to this whole episode, so now I get the chance. He says, who doesn't think that Ron is the most underrated player in his draft class, and how many ways are they wrong? That you can count. It's hard, I know. So let's just wax poetic about Ron Holland here. I'm going to pull it. We've been looking at per 100 stats today. I'm going to pull it up again. Ron Holland, of players that are expected to be regular rotation minute players. So I'm going to drop out Dennis Jenkins. I'm going to drop out Paul Reed. Jenkins, because he's really only played, Tolu Smith in this case, that I'm going to drop him off because he's only actually played in 100 game. But the relevant one to drop is Paul Reed because he's only played 34 minutes, even though he has shown up in 4 games. But Ron Holland is third on this team in points per 100 possessions. Per 100 possessions, he's at 25.3 points per game, 7 rebounds, about 4 assists, and 4.4 steals. He has a 1-to-1 steals to turnover ratio. Steals to turnover ratio per 100 possessions. Ron Holland has been incredible.
Yeah, he's been awesome. And I think that was, even after the game that Cade had against Orlando, like one of the first things I thought of was just Ron Holland has been great. And it wasn't even his best game offensively, but I just felt he made big plays, was able to turn the momentum, which we've already seen from him so many times before. And with how Stew It Up brings up the question when you put Ron in the context of his draft class. Like, I mean, Steph Castle looks awesome again this year, but he was your rookie of the year last year. Like, Ron wasn't even on an all rookie team. So I think you could say he's underrated nationally. I feel like us who have been watching him know what he could be, but like you brought up earlier, Wes, like coming into this year, you didn't know what that leap was going to be, and it appears that there's a real leap there, and he's just getting better with his shot, both in general and as a 3-point shooter, and he's still making things happen as a defender and in transition. I was really bummed that they called back that charge that he took on
He's
Paolo.
been trying to get that all season.
I love that. Such a smart play. I mean, if it turns into an offensive foul for Ron Holland more often than not, you gotta dial it back, obviously. But in a draft class in general, that was a little. There are some good players, but in terms of the star power, maybe a little bit of an off year. Like, I think the only other name that leaps out to me is Keyshawn George, because he's having an incredible start to the season for Washington. But Ron Holland, the way he was able to play a big role for a playoff team last year, and then he's only getting better this year on a team that we think is going to be back in the playoffs in the East and hopefully compete to go a little bit further than they already have. I think he's one of the, I don't know if he's a steal necessarily because he was a top 5 pick, but going into the draft, he was like starting his pre-draft year, he was at the top of this class. And then going into the draft, he goes down and some people aren't sure about him. He's getting talked about toward the end of the lottery, and Trajan Langdon takes that swing, which I think was the right thing to do in that draft. And it looks like it was a good swing. There's a lot that's still unwritten, but I love watching Ron Holland. I think, like Asar, he's a perfect fit for this team, and he's only getting better. So he's been one of, if not my biggest standout so far from the first 5 games.
If you figure that maybe the future of this team at the absolute core, right? Because no team really has like a 5 or 6 team core. All right. So if you're going to pick 3 guys, we've kind of speculated that maybe Ron's one of those guys, right? Maybe Ron Holland is one of those 3, along with Cade Cunningham and Asar Thompson, that are your true, like, not able to get rid of guys. Like, these are the players you're going to try to build around and see if you can't get to the mountaintop with them. And if that's what your opinion was, well, then you are seeing exactly what you wanted to see. I think it's too early to have the conversation about, should you move him up to the starting lineup or anything like that. But if he keeps playing like this, Ron Holland's going to be starting games after the All-Star break. Like, he's been better than Tobias Harris. And I have talked a bunch now about how much I have loved how well Tobias Harris is playing, even on the nights where his shot's not falling so far this season. I think that Tobias has been very impactful, especially as a veteran leader for this team. But if Ron Holland keeps playing like this, you got to have that conversation when it kind of comes down to the final stretch of the year, which was, I think I made that as like a bold prediction that I did not think was actually going to happen. 5-game sample size. So this could all burn up in flames and go away. Right. So you don't take it and run with it too far yet. But if this is the guy that the Pistons have in Ron Holland right now, then it kind of elevates him developmentally from where he was last year. Last year, you're looking at the ball of clay. You're thinking, all right, there's a lot of potential there, but he's got to show it. If you thought that he has the potential to be a star player, maybe the best player in the draft, like he was talked about at the time, but is the most unknown as well. Well, if this is the guy that you're getting off the bench right now, he's on that path to be the 90 or 100% of his potential outcomes. So it's just it's so exciting. He absolutely, I think he genuinely has a path to still being called the best player in this class in like 3 years after 3 or 4 seasons. That's totally in the window of possibility right now. He's got to do this consistently. If this falls off, then no, right? But if this is it, look out. The Pistons really have someone here in Ron Holland.
Yeah, and he's 20 years old. He doesn't turn 21 until after this season is over. And what you said about him potentially being a part of this core, if you look at the draft, there aren't that many core players that came out of it. I mean, other than Bronny James and the Lakers, that's a joke. But
no, I mean that's serious. They cannot get rid of Bronny James. He's vital. Well, I don't understand why he's not starting ahead of Austin Reeves, to be honest with
you. But no, like seriously, like I think I'd say Steph Castle is probably a part of the Spurs core. It's a little tricky after they trade for Fox and they drafted Dylan Harper this year. But outside of that, like, okay, Modest Buzelis is probably like a core guy for Chicago, but there's still a lot unknown there. And what are they doing? And the other one is maybe like Sarr and Keyshawn George out of Washington. So just in general, like, I don't think there are many core players that will come out of this draft. So if the Pistons were able to hit one of them, that's like a franchise changing thing.
Yeah, I mean, like, the per 100 possessions tells it all. If this is a guy where Cade's getting you 30 points per 100 possessions and Ron Holland's going to get you 25 per 100 possessions, right? Like, if you truly hit on a future 23-ish points per game scorer in the mold of like J-Dub over in OKC, who's also really impactful defensively as a disruptor, who's also tall, long, can get his own, right? Because that's also what's been really impressive with him. It's not just that this has all been created for him. He's making his own looks every now and again, and it's not bad, right? Like you could see that potential there with that. So yeah, man, I'm so excited about Ron Holland. The only player that has me more excited through 5 games right now is Isaiah Stewart. Because I can't talk enough about Isaiah Stewart. So I even had to like shoehorn him into this conversation. That's where I'm at with my love of Isaiah Stewart right now. He might be the most fun player on this team to watch, and that includes Cade Cunningham. Guy that small, blocking that many shots. See, I'm doing it again. Gosh darn it. All right, let's look over to this question here from Epic Wayne, and we can close it out here. All right, so he says, what do you make of this trend about fouls? So generally, and I'm going to read these off. This was a really long but a very well researched question. So fouls per game are up league-wide on average. 23.1 this year. It was 18.6 the year before. Free throws per game are up this year league-wide on average. 27.1 this year, 21.7 last year. Fouls per 36 for the Pistons. All of them are up. Cade, Harris, Duncan, Asar, Stu, Duren, Ron Holland. Everybody is fouling more this year than they were last year, which makes sense because the Pistons are tops in the league, I believe, in fouls per game. So what Epic Wayne wants to know is, what do you make of that trend? Are the Pistons actually fouling more, and are those fouls really deserved, or is it kind of like a phantom foul thing? And how would a decrease in foul calls affect the way that the Pistons want to run their offense or defense?
Well, I mean, I think it's a mixture of both, because obviously there are some deserved foul calls and some that aren't. But I think in terms of how it would change how they want to run their offenses, I think like Stu is close to the top in personal fouls per game. Duren's in the top 5, and then Asar and Ron are up there as well with Cade. I look mainly to Stu and Duren because I think those are the guys that you've seen, like Duren potentially getting in early foul trouble, and then Stu comes in for him, and then maybe he gets in early foul trouble or gets in early foul trouble with that first sub. I don't think it's like as big of a deal for the Pistons because you also have Paul Reed in a dire situation, but it's just all about staying on the floor to me. And you have to do what you can to not play yourself out of games. It was a problem for Stu when he was starting earlier in his career. Problem for Duran every now and again as well. And then you have like the other ones are Asar and Ron, so you can say the same things about them. They're going to get called for fouls because they're taking top defensive assignments, and YouTube user brought up Ron's intensity. Like you can say the same thing about Asar and Stu and even like Duran to a degree. So I think they're going to get called for fouls. It's just about managing it from there and keeping yourself in the game. I think that might bring the need for a little more creativity from JB Bickerstaff. Like, does that mean Javonte Green gets earlier minutes and is maybe taking one of the top 2 or 3 guys on the opponent and having Asar or Ron or whoever's out there on someone else? Because I'm not concerned about it in the offense unless guys start taking themselves out of games, which I think has been a problem. So you just have to figure out how to limit that.
Yeah, the only thing I'd add is just that it's early, 4 games, 5 games into the season. You got to think this is probably going to average out. I mean, if you're the NBA, having free throws per game up 6 attempts league wide, that's not sustainable, right? Having fouls per game up 5 almost per game, that's not sustainable either. So like I think that this is probably going to level out. If it doesn't, if we're 15, 20 games into the season and it's still this high, okay, well then, the Pistons are going to need to dial back the physicality on defense. This is kind of the opposite situation, if you guys remember, as what was happening after the All-Star break last year. All of a sudden, free throws dip, right? Teams are being allowed to be so much more physical, and that carried into the playoffs, and it was great. And the Pistons truthfully kind of benefited from that, and now the whistle's a little bit tighter. So these things tend to even out in the end, and we'll see. That's kind of all I've got to add on it, at least for right now. This would be a fun one to revisit in a couple weeks.
Yeah. And the only other thing I'd say is I think we've seen on the flip side of it, some Pistons doing a better job of getting to the line. Like you saw Duran get to the line 12 times and make 11 of his free throws other game. And I think Cade's getting better in that sense too. So hopefully there's a way to take advantage of it a little bit. But yeah, I'm with you. I think we'll revisit this like a month from now and see where we're at, and hopefully it evens out, like you said.
All right, I think we can call it there. Thank you for everyone for tuning in, and Blake, I'll throw it back your way to take us home.
Yeah. Thanks for everyone joining on a Friday morning. Happy Halloween if you're with us live or if you're listening after the fact. But reminder, you can call our phone line to ask a question and hear your voice on the show. The number for that is 313-355-2717. And special thanks to Sean Corp, the managing editor of Detroit Bad Boys, for supporting the show. And shout out to you guys again for all the great questions and talking points tonight. We'll catch you next week, whether on your commute or live with us on YouTube. We can't wait to talk more Detroit basketball with you all.